Watch him again and again. Watch him for days on end. Kicking on a bunch of ass in the challenges. Not taking any of anyone.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us again here on the block. We're continuing our game breakdowns from Big Brother Canada Season 3. We're on our fifth or sixth interview now. I don't know. We've got a few more to go, but
I lost track.
we're thrilled to be joined by Mr. Jordan Parhar. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. Big fan of both of y'all, and love on the block, huge fan. So hashtag Ninja Ninja, hashtag 604, and thank you very much.
Proper. Right on. Yeah, sorry we can only have our crappy whistling. We're not as sophisticated as the Shield show to have sound effects.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm not sophisticated enough to be on the Shield show, so it's all good, guys.
You got a much better gig out of the whole thing, though. I mean, Rob has a podcast. That's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
Yeah, tell
awesome.
us about that. Tell us about that real quick.
So I'm going to be covering Big Brother 17 for robasawebsite.com. If you're not familiar with Rob Sesternino, he does lots of stuff covering reality television.
Yeah,
exactly. You guys know who he is. But for those listening, you might not know who he is. I'll be doing on his, he has his main podcast feed, Rob has a podcast. He's another podcast feed called Reality TV Wrap-Ups. So I'll be covering Big Brother on that feed. I'll be interviewing some former Big Brother Canada house guests. I'm really close with a lot of those guys, and some former Big Brother US house guests. Perhaps you guys, if you guys are interested.
Absolutely.
We'll see what happens. I'll be in and out probably on Rob Has a Podcast maybe throughout the season here and there. I might show up. I recently did a podcast with him. We did a Big Brother Second Chances podcast
segue.
in which
We listened.
you guys listened.
Both of
You
us
guys made the
listened.
cut.
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
well,
Well, I have to say, first of all, I have to say thank you, because, I mean, Rob hates me for whatever reason. He was trying to cut my ass so hard. I know there was a backroom talk about him being like, I hate McCrae, blah, blah, blah. Something
never happened.
baloney. I do not believe that for an... I have got... no, there was something...
I swear to God.
Maybe he didn't say it to you, but I do know that if you listen to it, you can just sense in it that he does not want me to be there. And the fact that I'm good friends, or not good friends, but I'm decent friends with you, I'm decent friends with Kurt, and both of you guys pushed, and Rob he did not want that cut to be made. Spencer, you made the cut easily, but he was not he was not having me. And I was like, that motherfucker.
Baloney, McCrae. Rob loves you. Rob loves you. It was just hard. We had so many big.
No, you guys did have a lot of tough ones. Yeah, and there was I'm glad you all love to Helen. I'm glad you made you cut her. that was a proper cut. Very proper. She's got kids, she wasn't gonna be able to make it.
Yeah, she's gonna make it anyway.
Yeah,
This is
hard.
official.
It is.
It's hard. Everybody has their favorites. Everybody has their people that they want to be cast, and I've gotten a ton of tweets. Kurt and Rob and I have gotten so many tweets, people saying
Pissed.
"What are you doing? You didn't put Alyssa on."
Yeah.
Oh my God, you cut Donnie. What's wrong with you? And you know what? Honestly, if I could go back, I probably would make some changes. It's hard though. It's tough.
Absolutely.
In the moment, making all these cuts, there are so many good Big Brother house guests, and putting together that list, it's hard.
You're just, and the good thing is that you're not a producer. You're not actually making these real life cuts. Think about these people actually go through it. Robin Cass goes through this every year when she does cast. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So
there wasn't a lot riding on this Second Chances podcast. But anyway, no, we really appreciate you joining us, dude. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
It was awesome visiting with you in Niagara, and
so good.
It's awesome.
That was awesome.
Really,
no, yeah, exactly. Jess is in love with you. She is just over the moon. She's always talking about how awesome you are. You're her favorite, so it means a lot.
Jess, thank you for the kind words. I love Jess too. She's awesome. Marilyn's great too. Spencer, congratulations on your engagement. That's awesome.
Sir.
So happy for you guys. Love is a beautiful thing, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, isn't it though?
Absolutely.
Well, let's along that line. We all love Big Brother, so let's get to this very important game breakdown that I've been waiting for. I've been looking forward to talking to you because you had so much control for honestly your entire time in the house. You knew what was going on, with the exception of From what I understand, really about 12 hours before a flip. So that's still a strong game. That's just part of the game, the blind sides. But before we get there, let's start from the start. We know that you've got a lengthy love affair with Big Brother, but what about all reality shows? Did you get involved with Big Brother? Tell us about your involvement there, how you started with Big Brother through the casting process, and basically get me inside the house.
Okay, so wow, I could go for days with this. So I'll try and keep it short-ish. So I've been a Big Brother fan since Big Brother 2. I got into reality television in 2000 when most people got into reality television with Survivor. My parents watched that, and I instantly was like, oh well, like I just like every other little kid out there, you want to be like your parents. So well, maybe not all little kids, but I was like that. So I would always watch what they watched. Got into Survivor. We watched a little bit of Big Brother 1, but it wasn't really my thing. I saw Will Mega fighting with people. That's all I really remember, and it didn't really stick around for it. Big Brother 2 came on, complete format change. Dr. Will completely controlled the house. It was amazing. Although as a kid, and like most people at the time, I didn't really like Dr. Will because he was the villain. It took me until I got a little bit older. I was only 7 years old at the time. It took me a little bit older to appreciate his game and everything.
Sure.
But ever since then, I've been a huge Big Brother fan. I've watched every single summer. And then Big Brother Canada, they announced it in 2012, I believe. And once they announced it, I was like, okay, this is it. Like, this is my chance. I always had planned, as a kid, I wanted to move to the States and get American citizenship and then apply to be on Big Brother or Survivor because those are two of my favorite shows. But then Big Brother Canada got announced. I thought, okay, this is great. I'm going to apply. I applied the first season. Didn't go so well. Sent in a video. Heard nothing back. Season 2, I went to an open casting call. And I did really well, actually. And believe it or not, Sarah from season 2 of Big Brother Canada was actually in my open casting call group. So we were actually in the same group. So I actually saw her there.
Well, that's
Crazy,
cool.
right?
That's
Very
that's
cool.
nuts.
Very,
Yeah.
That is
yeah,
cool.
very cool. And so I went to this open casting call. She was my same group. I made it to the next round. I went to semifinals. I went to finals that year. So I thought I was going to be on the cast of Big Brother Canada too. I got cut at towards the end of the cuts. So that was really devastating for me. But then I always said to myself, hey, you know what? Big Brother Canada 3, let's bring it on, see what happens. And sure enough,
Hell
it
yeah.
did. So I got lucky. For whatever reason, they liked and what they saw in me. And I got cast on the show, and it was a dream come true. Obviously, it didn't turn out the way I would have liked it to.
There can only be one winner. There can only be
Yeah,
one
that's
winner.
the thing, man.
There
That's
can
the
only
thing,
be
man. There can
one.
only be one winner, and
Us group of
You know,
losers is way cooler to be a part of.
Sure,
Like, we're
sure,
way-
I agree. I
and
agree.
you know, and people can go farther, make it deeper in the game, and not be as memorable. And if you're going to lose, you might as well go out being memorable. And your blind side, as unfortunate it was for you to be on the end of it that you were, man. It's still one of those exciting Big Brother moments. It really is. So,
Oh, yeah.
that's
and I
We'll get to
I
it.
don't think looking back, you're gonna feel the way you might feel about it now, or at least did then,
Yeah.
because it's like I said, if you don't get the check at the end, everybody's just another loser. So you might as well go out with some flair and some style. So
Yeah,
that's really what it's about.
absolutely,
So
for sure. And as a huge super fan and somebody who just loves the game so much. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but I would much rather go in that fashion than for me to have been evicted 2 weeks later and it was like a unanimous vote or something like
Yeah,
that. So
sure,
at
sure.
least it was entertaining. It was a blindside. You don't really see a lot of blindsides on Big Brother these days anyway. So that was kind of cool as well. So
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. I'm just gonna own it at this point.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
it's the best way to go about it for sure. But yeah, we'll get into that. We'll
That's
we'll
that's a
rub
couple weeks
those
down the line.
we'll rub those wounds and salt them up real good like. But
Yes.
I'm kind of curious, like, what is when you went into casting, how did you play it? What did you like play a character more or less? Did you kind of like try to play a certain like more like highlight an aspect of yourself? What did you go in as? What did you tell them? Just for the people that are looking
Yeah,
to
yeah, for sure. So, well, for me, what I did was, so I got a lot of experience in casting just because I applied 3 times. So it took me a lot of people on my season and most seasons apply their first time and they get on the show. I believe you guys both were also one and dones, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, certain people, they, for whatever reason, they're just be themselves, and themselves or who they are as an individual, just by that alone, that's enough to get them on the show, because you guys are unique, you guys are intellectual. I think that helped you guys throughout the casting process. For me, I don't really, if you just see me on the street, if you talk to me, you just be like, oh, like whatever, like JP's like, he's just like, yeah, he's a nice guy, whatever, but I don't really stand out. And so for me, what I wanted to do was I wanted to rattle some cages a little bit. I wanted to be a little bit, I wanted to play up my personality, like every single part of me. I basically play that up as if I was on steroids. So I read How to Get on Reality TV by Dan Giesling. I read his book, very commonly known book at this point. So I read that, and I talked a lot about crafting your story, and talks a little bit about like being, like a character. So I kind of figured, you know what, I'm a super fan of this game. I need to play that up a lot. So in real life, when I walk around, I look like this. I don't have glasses or anything like that. But I knew from Ian Terry, I had an interview with Ian Terry. Ian does not have prescription glasses. He wore glasses to make himself look smarter to get cast on Big Brother 14, and it worked. People just assumed that he was smart when he is smart, so that helped him get on the show. For me, I'm actually not that smart, as you can see on the show, but I'm a big fan of the game, so I figured, you know what, I know a lot about Big Brother. When I talk about the game, I think that when you talk about something that you're passionate about, people automatically assume that you're smarter than you already are, and you just sound more intellectual, and like more of a cerebral person. So threw glasses on. I would talk a lot about the game in my interviews, and casting really liked that, because they just thought, oh my gosh, this guy's so smart. And really all I did was I threw on a pair of glasses, and they just automatically were like, boom, you're the smart guy. Whereas the first season I applied, I didn't do any of that, and I didn't hear anything back. So I think the move is, if you do, because there are people listening to this that do want to get on Big Brother, I think the move is you want to talk about yourself, like you want to be yourself, because you can't lie in these things. They're going to see right through that. But at the same time, you want to be yourself on steroids, and you want to play up every single aspect of yourself as possible. So if that is wearing glasses, if that is wearing a bow tie, whatever, to make you seem smarter, then go for it. If you're a super jacked guy and that means you want to wear like a muscle shirt or something, like, and to show off how huge you are, go for it. You know, you just got to play up those certain aspects of yourself. You don't want to go so overboard that you're wearing like a costume or something.
Yeah, like you wear that every single day. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you want to be something that you could realistically wear every single day.
I definitely want to give a shout out to that podcast with Ian Terry and Dan. I listened to that pretty much right before I went into the house, and after I listened to it, I was like, damn, like I did everything, like it was like by total chance, but it's like I did all that stuff. I did play up that thing. So everyone go try to find that podcast if you're looking for like really good tips. Ian he waxes eloquently about how he got cast and like why and stuff like that, and the psychology of getting cast. So everyone check that out. I thought that's definitely a very good podcast. So we're walking through the process. You know, you're getting kidnapped. You know, what is your mindset going into the house? What are you going to play? And then lead us into walking through those doors and then kind of into that first week of the game.
Oh, okay. So for me, basically what I wanted to do going into the house was I knew that there's going to be probably some sort of twist or something that happens, and there's a lot of things you can't control in Big Brother. So what I wanted to make sure that I did was right away on that first night, I wanted to make sure that I have at least one personal conversation with every single person before that head of household competition happens, because I did not want to be the first person nominated. A lot of times people that go up the first week, they either make a bad impression, or the person who wins HOH is like, oh, well, I didn't talk to you, so I just didn't want to put you up. Or I wanted to put you up as a result of that because I have no ties to you. At the same time, too, my strategy, again, going in, it ties into that, was just to get to know people very well on a personal level. I think that I have somewhat decent social skills, and I figure that I read a book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People Before I Win the House, and that book just talks about just dealing with people in general. And one of the things that I wanted to do going into the house was ask a lot of questions, get to know people very personally, because people like talking about themselves. Let's be
Absolutely.
honest. So
Absolutely.
I wanted to go in, make sure that I had some tight personal relationships with people, get to know them very well on a personal level, build up my social game, get to know their dogs' names, get to know their siblings' names. In the case of Peely, I learned all 10 or 9 of their siblings, what their names were, all that little stuff, because I felt like if I did that kind of stuff, I mean, I did mean it on a genuine level, but at the same time, I felt like if I was to do that, people would be like, "Oh wow, JP is such a nice little kid. I don't really want to vote him out." Which I mean,
Sure.
ultimately it backfired in my face. But yeah, that was just I wanted to make sure the things that I could control, I wanted to be able to control them. Did I want to make a million alliances right away? No, but we can get into that.
All right. Well, let's do that. Okay. Um, okay. We know from talking to other people, and obviously you were in the chop shop, but the chop shop formed day 2. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just to kind of get an idea of when these alliances start forming, I'm gonna need your help with some stuff. So chop shop forms day 2. What day do you form Newport with Zach?
So I heard Zach's interview with you guys. I think he said it was like a couple days in. To me, we formed that the first night. So I pulled Zach in the pantry. And again, this didn't really translate the greatest on the show, which you guys obviously know, being former house guests. And there was no live feeds. But it was probably like 4 in the morning, and Zach and I had a lot of time together because we were both in that first group. So
Okay.
we were probably in that first group with just us was maybe like half an hour, and then maybe another half an hour with that second group, and then maybe like 15 minutes with that next group or whatever. But really, for the
Okay.
entire night, Zach and I were very close, and we just seemed to have like a good like rapport right away. So I just went to him and I said, "Hey, Zach, like let's work together. Like, let's work together. People aren't going to expect this. You're a huge guy. You're this superstar athlete. I'm this puny little dweeb that can work with you. People aren't going to assume that we're teaming up. And even if people do find out that we're teaming up, they're not going to be that afraid of us. So why not work together?" And he said, "Okay, yeah, let's do it." And
Yeah.
at first, I wasn't. I mean, I trusted him, pretty extensively. And then he told me over the chop shop right away, and I was like, okay, this is like he's telling me all this information. He doesn't have to do that. I know I can trust this guy, because those
Gotcha.
first few days, everybody's trying to be like, oh, like Godfrey's coming. He's like, yo, man, I want to make a final two with you, yo, because I know I can kick your ass in competitions, yo, and you suck, yo, like stuff like that. So I know Godfrey's doing that to everybody. Sarah's coming up to me making final twos. All these people are trying to make these. Willow,
Okay.
all these people are trying to swing deals. Zach I knew was legit. And yeah, that's why we just really had a really tight bond from the start.
Okay. I want to put some days on these alliances. What about your BB3 Danielle and Jason alliance with Sarah? Would you call that legit? Because I think that was an important relationship with the house to some extent. What day did you start that with her?
So that I believe was also like day 2 or day 3, and at first, I was down with it because I've had a few talks with Sarah, and we just really clicked. I really
Okay.
liked her on a personal level, and that's just a testament to how good of a social player Sarah was. Is she was just so good. Little did I know, she had these really good. She already was boom. She's with Brittany already. She's already with Neha. She has close relationships with Johnny. All this stuff,
Okay.
and she comes to me and she's like, "Yeah, like let's work together." So for me, it was never okay because I already had Zach. I was like, okay, this isn't going to be my number one, but this is good. This is something that I can use later on in the game and to my advantage. And who
Okay.
knows, if I need to flip things, Sarah can come in very handy. So that was about day 2 from my recollection of it.
Okay. Were you nervous? I know that Zach told you about the chop shop. Were you nervous to know that there was a large gathering of people and you weren't involved in it?
I was a little nervous, and I was scared that they could get a little too much power and too much control because early on in the
Did
game. Or sorry, go ahead.
I would say did that influence your going around and making alliances, other alliances in the house, like the alliance with Sarah?
Well, you know what? Honestly, Spencer, a lot of the alliances that I made early on, those were, and I ended up having a million alliances, but a lot of them really, they were never me going and seeking out alliances with people. I just had good relationships with people, and I like talking to people, and people would come to
Gotcha.
me and say, "Hey, let's work together." Sarah came to me on day 2 and said, "Hey, Parhar, you're my guy. Let's work
Okay.
together. Let's go deep in this game."
Okay.
Later on in the game, all those other alliances, they sort of came to me. So I had that in the back of my mind, and I knew that Zach was in good with them, so I wasn't too concerned because I figured Zach is pretty influential. He should be able to keep my name, off the top of their radar. And especially because I would go to Greg a lot because I knew Greg was really calling the shot. So I would always go to Greg and be like, Greg, like whatever you need, man, like I'm with you. He'd always be like 604, 604. Like yeah, sounds good. And anything he'd say, I would just like be like, yes, whatever you say, sir.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too concerned about that. But yes, Spencer, I did want to try to build some other relationships with the other side of the house in case a counter alliance were to form, and then Zach and I would be able to perfectly stay in the middle because he'd be in the chop shop, I'd be on this other side of the house. We keep each other safe, and we go very deep in the game. And we kind of did that for a little bit. Didn't quite work out the way we planned it, though.
Okay, and we will march those weeks. I want to get a couple more dates down. What day did the Fortress form? You can just tell me the date. I want to know the date for the Fortress, Diaper Alliance, and Bermuda Triangle. Fortress was day 5.
Fortress was day 5. Bermuda Triangle, I believe, was day. I think it was day 3. No, was it? No, it was Kevin's HOH. So it would have been day 14. Would have been the
14
Bermuda
was
Triangle.
Kevin's instant. Yeah.
That was So that would have been So the Bermuda Triangle was day 14. Fortress was day 5. Diaper Alliance. That was during the end of Bruno's HOH. Like again, Zach mentioned that it was sort of like it was already a thing, but we didn't really like lock it down. We didn't have it set. But I would say probably
26, 27.
I think it was because that would have been BBTV. I think it was about day 25 that we formed that. So before BBTV, I believe. That's again, my memory is not the greatest, but that would be my guess. Yeah.
Okay, and your loyalties in the house, your main loyalties were to Zach and Kevin. That's pretty obvious. Was there anyone else? Where would you rank Cindy on that and Sarah as far as your loyalties?
So for
in-game knowledge, not now.
Yeah. So at the time in the game, for me, number 1 was Zach. 2 was Kevin. Until very late before I left. Then those flipped. 3 would have been Sarah for me, and 4 would have been Cindy.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Week 1, we've already kind of gone through that. We talked about some stuff that we didn't see on the feeds. That gets you through week 1. Week 1, okay, you're safe. Obviously, Risha and Peely on the blog. You don't know how the voting is going to go down. I understand that Greg was doing quite a bit of campaigning because he had strong feelings on who went home, which is very
hilarious.
very 604 of him.
604.
Love Greg, but
love Greg, but yeah, he's a little too aggressive. Zach told you guys the story. I don't know if he really told you the extent of it, but how it happened was Greg came up into the main bedroom, and the Big Brother Canada house is a little different than the U.S. house, as you guys know. We all sleep in the same bedroom, and Greg just walked in to the main bedroom. I was sitting on a bed with Brittany and Johnny, and he runs up to us, and he says, guys, we have to keep Risha this week. We got to get rid of Peely. And we're like, well, Greg, why are you saying this? Was on the day before the vote? And we're like, Greg, like, why are you saying this now? He's like, guys, we need a pawn for next week, so we need to get rid of Peely because Risha's the perfect pawn, guys. Meanwhile, Peely is on the bed right like across from us, and she's right there, and she's hearing this entire conversation. And Peely comes up to Greg and is like, Greg, can I talk to you? Not now, Peely. I'm busy. So it was
awesome.
From that moment on, I was like,
this guy's the best.
I love
this guy is just the best.
Yeah, I love him. I love the Gingy Ninja. He's the best. But when he did that, I was like, I don't know if I can. I won't really. I don't know if this guy's long for this game.
Yeah,
he's awesome. But I love him as head strategist for the Chop Shop. His tactics were definitely well thought out in his own head. And, it was fun to watch. Let's talk about going into week 2. Week 1. Not much going on. You made some relationships. You're feeling pretty good going into week 2. And I would imagine that when Bobby wins this HOH, you feel pretty good knowing that Zach is in the Chop Shop with him. Talk about Bobby winning HOH, his nominations, and kind of like I know that you and Cindy's relationship starts to kind of evolve at this point, and just kind of walk me through that week a little bit. That's what I need to know. Get us up to the point where Cindy walks out. Tell us that whole week.
Okay, so yeah, so basically, when Bobby won that HOH, I wasn't thrilled because I had never talked game to Bobby at that point, and I knew he was
Okay.
talking a lot of game with people, even though he kept saying every 5 minutes he'd say, "Oh, I never talk game with anyone. I never talk game with anyone." But I knew he was talking game with everybody because he was in the chop shop and he was in that alliance. So yes, as you said, Spencer, I wasn't too concerned because I knew Zach would definitely keep my name off the chopping block, but. I was concerned a little bit because of my tight relationship with Kevin. I already had formed this Fortress Alliance with him, and I realized, you know what? Hey, Bobby is got all these really strong guys in the chop shop already. The biggest threats that aren't in it are Kevin and Johnny. He could easily throw those guys up. And as soon as he announced Brittany and Kevin were his nominees, I thought, okay, like he's just using this as a cop out, but he's really going after Kevin. And sure enough, I compared notes with Zach, and Zach's like, yeah, Kevin's Kevin's the person that Bobby's going after. So Kevin actually came to me and he said, "Hey, should I throw this competition?" And I said, "No, like you are the target. You have to win this power veto." And he said, "How do you know?" And I didn't want to tell him about Newport at this point. And I lied and I said, "Oh, I overheard the girls talking about like you need to be aware of it." And then later on that day, he heard there was the whole bathroom situation where he says,
Sure.
"Nice conversation, ladies," and he
Yeah.
walks out. Classic Big Brother moment. I love that so
That
much.
was
That was
awesome.
So funny.
That was one of the best
So
moments. It was
oh,
yes, it was so good, so
so
good.
good.
Overhearing
So
and eavesdropping, that's like some of the best
oh,
parts of Big Brother.
it is, and it was just awesome. So he came down, he went out, went and talked to Greg. He told me the plan. Greg was going crazy. Greg said like he just is like there was no alliance before, but now there is, bro. The guys are working together, and we're getting rid of the girls. And I was like, okay, this is perfect. Now everyone's going to be gunning for the girls, and for Cindy, I'm especially safe because the chop shop is already one. They weren't gunning for me, but now Greg is trying to rally all the guys together. This is awesome. Nobody's even talking about me, like this is great. And then so sure enough, we play the power veto competition. Kevin wins the veto. Super stoked, incredibly excited that he wins it. It's clear to everybody that Cindy's going to be the one going up. Cindy goes on the block. I didn't really have Cindy and I didn't really have that tight of a relationship yet. Her and I had a few personal conversations, and I think that that actually caused Cindy to like she that kind of drew me to like that drew Cindy to me, I guess, because not a lot of people talked with Cindy on a personal level. They would just
Mhm.
kind of be like, like that's Cindy. I don't really want to talk to her. But I actually asked her a lot, like about her upbringing, growing up, and all those sorts of things. So we already had like a decent relationship. And then before Johnny's birthday, we were out in the kitchen outside the pantry, and everybody was going upstairs to Johnny's HOH room. And Cindy grabbed me and was just like, "Come here." And then she just started making out with me, and I was like, "Oh, okay, like this is awesome.
Welcome
Let's
to
do
Big
it."
Brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
So
Well,
great.
okay. Well, as awesome as it was, did it make you nervous? Because obviously, I don't think it factored into your gameplay. So,
No,
tell
yeah,
me what you're thinking about when that was going on.
absolutely.
Was
Yeah, I
she
was.
was she already on the block at this time?
Yes, she was on the
Okay.
block at this time. So here, and I'll go back to week one a little bit. On day six, actually, Peely and I went on a date, actually, and so we all went. We were all around in the backyard one day talking about who we'd want to have a showmance with, and Peely mentioned my name, so I said, "Hey, Peely, let's go on a date." So I took her on a date on day six. She was still on the block at this point, but I figured she was staying, but. I didn't really want to pursue anything because I didn't want to have a showmance because I knew that's probably going to put a big target on my back, and I don't really need that. So nothing happened as of that. Fast forward to day 13 or whatever, I think, or maybe it was day 12 when this happened. So Cindy grabs me and she's like started making out with me, and I'm like, this isn't the greatest, but I knew Cindy was probably going to go home, so I figured, well, you know what?
Get
I
while the
like,
getting's good.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So
exactly,
as
exactly.
much as it sucked for Cindy, I was like, and for me, if I would have known that Cindy was going to stay in the game, I probably would have been like, whoa, like, look, Cindy, like
Yeah.
this is good, but like
Let's
I
be
don't want to do
smart.
anything here. But I knew she
Um,
was going home, so I wasn't too afraid. So yes, it did. It concerned me a little bit, but because she was going home, wasn't the most concerned. And then later on, obviously, it kind of did me in. But we can get
well,
into that.
just got to ask the question: was Cindy campaigning? Was that part of her strategy to campaign, or was there really something that was kind of beginning there?
At the time, I totally thought Cindy was just trying to campaign,
Sure.
and Cindy says that she wasn't. So I'll take her word for it.
Okay.
She says that she wasn't. She
Interesting.
says it's legit. So I guess it's legit. I think it's legit based on the
Cool.
stuff she said. But
I also
um,
I want to remind you right now that Cindy's actually in the chat room right now. listening, and we will be talking to her eventually too. So these stories better match up. I'm telling you guys.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
taking notes. So I'm gonna compare them. All right. Well,
How's it going?
all right. Well, let's move on. Let's move on past Cindy. Sorry, Cindy. We'll get back to you in a minute. Um, but so she leaves. So that's kind of like a neutral eviction for you in a way. You lose kind of an ally, maybe, but also it was kind of getting into dangerous territory. So it's good that she left. You got Kevin off the block when he won the veto, so that's great. So you're moving forward into this is day 14, the instant eviction day. Kevin wins the HOH, makes his nominees of Neha and Brittany before anybody can talk, campaign, or strategize. And then before this is known and the eviction takes place, there's a lot of campaign and a lot of things going on. Tell us your position in the House during this kind of shift, and what you hope what you would hope to have obtained had it not been instant eviction, had it played out like a typical week.
Yeah, so if it would have played out like a typical week, it would have been very interesting. So yeah, the night Kevin wins the HOH, him and I talk right away. He's very upset because he tried to throw it, and every single time he hit the thing, either he got it right by accident or the other person got it wrong. So he wins his HOH. He's like, oh my gosh, this is awful. What do I do? And at first, I think, you know what, this is good. Kevin's not in the chop shop. He can definitely go after them this week. And sure enough, Neha knows her neck is on the line. She needs to do some campaigning. She needs to do some stuff. So she actually, we were up until like 4 in the morning that night, and she pulled together a large group of us. She pulled together herself. So her, Johnny, Sarah, Brittany, myself, Zach, and Kevin, and proposed that the 7 of us work together moving forward, and that we take a shot at the guys. So ideally, what Kevin and I talked about was throw up probably Bobby and Bruno, and then potentially backdoor Greg, or just throw up Bobby and Bruno, let the best man win, and then just vote out the other one. But definitely Greg and Bobby probably would have been the biggest targets had that happened. I don't know if Kevin actually would have gone through with that based on the conversations we had. I think he would have, but it's probably for his long-term game, what happened for him was probably better for him because he was able to make a move, stop being HOH after a day, and he was kind of able to just like fade into the background.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Let me ask you about this a little bit. Okay. Your game and strategy is obviously very closely tied up into to the goals and strategies of the Newport Alliance. It sounds to me like the first few weeks of the Newport Alliance's main goal was to figure out a way to get the opposite side of the house to break up Chop Shop. Seems like break up Chop Shop was mostly Newport's goal. Is that correct?
I think the main goal for us was kind of to build up 2 sides similar to Big Brother 6 and have one side go after the other side each and every week and not have both sides know that Zach and I are playing both sides. And because there were 2 of us, we were able to compare notes with each other. We were able to compare stories. And we were actually able to do so pretty efficiently for the first few weeks at least. So it wasn't, for me, it was more so, let's destroy the Chop Shop. Because as soon as, I saw what Greg and Bobby and Bruno, all these people were doing, I figured these guys are going to be a powerhouse alliance. We got to get rid of them when we can, and I'm going to have 0 chance of beating any of these people in physical competitions. So for me, yes, I wanted to blow up the Chop Shop. If it was my preference, I would have liked the other side of the house, so the Johnny, the Nehas, the Sarahs, the Brittnys, to build these guys up and to let the Chop Shop kind of crumble and die. But because Zach was in the Chop Shop, I think he wanted to, and he thought that those guys were really loyal to him. He didn't really necessarily want to lose all of them. I think it was more so of a, let's just get rid of the biggest threats on both sides of the house, like wean it down a little bit, and then later in the game we can start playing.
Which I think is a very solid strategy. I mean, that's a strategy. I don't know if it's ever worked in Big Brother, but I think it's in terms of even human nature, it's the perfect idea to take 2 groups, force them against each other, and you sit back and watch them go, and you'll be standing in at the end. Super smart, yeah. and you walked it down. You guys were walking it for a while, for a
while, yeah.
You guys had it in lock.
Thank you, McCrae. And it was almost sort of like what you guys tried to do with the moving company
exactly.
in season 15 of Big Brother. And that was in my head because if the moving company would have worked, you guys would have destroyed everybody. That would have been so good. Obviously, we blew it up, but that was kind of
champions
what
like Howard and Nick and Jeremy.
No, like that. I mean, that actually kind of inspired that for me because I watched that first week and that second week, seeing what you guys were doing, and I thought, wow, this is so good. Why not try and make this work? And there were only two of us, so there was less of a chance for us to fracture. The bigger the
Absolutely.
alliance, the harder it is to maintain longer in the
Absolutely.
game. And obviously, it didn't
Sure.
work, but it was an interesting concept for sure.
Well, okay, because I'm going to ask you about the same question when we get to the Diaper Alliance, because I want to know, and not now because we're getting real close to that point anyway, but I want to know what the Diapers Alliance main objective was, because it was not to create two sides and stay in between them. So Neha goes home. All right, we're at the point where Neha is evicted, instant eviction. Everybody's shocked. She leaves. However, before she left, the game conversation there did seem to kind of open up some lines of communication amongst people that may have not have talked as much in the house. It seemed like that when these house flips would happen, there'd be kind of some cross communication, and I don't know if that was I don't know ultimately if it was good or bad. But it was that week with instant eviction, just because Neha she was so close, had it been a regular week of turning things upside down. So let's talk about, because that right there, that is important, because as we go deeper, when Zach didn't use the veto on you, I know in the past you've talked about you wish that you had spilled the beans on Zach and talked about the Purple Cobras and his plans against the Chop Shop and that kind of stuff. I've heard you talk about that a little bit. We'll get into that here in a minute.
Yeah.
But let's get into week 3 right now. Brittany's HOH. Okay, this is one that I haven't heard you talk about any relationship with Brittany so far. What was your relationship with Brittany when she wins HOH?
So early on in the game, so I had this relationship with Sarah. She was tied with Neha, and actually Neha, Sarah, Zach, and myself formed this little foursome. We were going to work together, kind of keep each other safe, work both sides of the house, similar to what we were talking about. But then Neha went home. So I knew Sarah was very close to Brittany, and Brittany, I think, based on the information Sarah had given her, knew that Zach and I were close. So Brittany, Sarah, Zach, and myself was supposed to be the new four, per se. So I actually did have a good relationship with Brittany. I really liked Brittany on a personal level. We had some very good personal talks and conversations, and I just really liked hanging out with her. So as soon as she won HOH, I was ecstatic. I knew that this was going to be a good week. I wasn't quite sure if she was going to take a big shot, and as soon as she said, it was pretty early on, she indicated that she wanted to go after a big dog that week. I was so excited, and for me, this was probably the most fun I had in the house was this week, because I knew finally a big, huge player is going to go home this week, and they're going to have no idea that they're getting backdoored.
Yeah.
She played it perfectly. She went in that whole veto ceremony. She said, I don't forget. I have bigger fish to fry. And, I mean, Kevin came up to me shortly after, and he said, dude, like, was that, like, what was that? Was that actually, like, she's not being serious, is she? And I was like, oh, no, she's not being serious. He's like, does anyone actually believe that? And I said, no, they all believe it. They all believe it. Chop Chop bought that hook, line, and sinker. He's like, no, they didn't believe that. And I said, yeah, man, they believe it. So,
That's crazy.
the entire Chop Shop, other than Zach, of course, was like, oh, wow, this is awesome.
She's going after
Kevin
Johnny.
and Bobby are on the block, and then we're going to backdoor Johnny. So we go into this veto competition. Johnny's acting like he's going home. Meanwhile, we're having all these conversations. We know everything's good. Everybody in the veto competition is going to use it. We're going to get rid of either Greg or Bobby, whoever this week. It's going to be awesome, and it was just so much fun. And this week we actually formed the Purple Cobras Alliance, which I don't know if you guys have talked a lot about yet on the show, but so it was, I think it was like the second night, so after Brittany won HOH, it was probably like day 15 or day 16, and it consisted of Brittany, Sarah, myself, Kevin, and Zach, as well as Johnny. So basically the leftovers of that alliance that Neha kind of tried to start.
Sure. Yeah, that's how I always consider the Purple Cobras. It's basically the group that Neha got. It's what she got rolling before she got evicted.
Exactly.
So this is actually a very good week for you. You've got this kind of the Purple Cobras alliance is kind of enough to keep you off the block. You've got Newport's their main agenda is to start busting up Chop Shop. That's starting to happen. We're getting Greg backdoored and out of there. He's his game's over. So as of right now, week 3 going into week 3 going into week 4, you're looking really damn good. You're still playing the house, still kind of playing the middle, playing the game that you wanted to play, the game that you've been playing. You're continuing to play that with very, very, if any resistance. Who do you have at this point that's on to you at any point that knows you and Zach are talking a lot of game?
I think that most of the Purple Cobras knew that Zach and I were talking a lot of game, but because we were aligned with them, I think that they were okay with that. I know Sarah
Did they accept that y'all came like as a package type deal, or were you gathered independently?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that they kind of like Sarah, because before the Purple Cobras formed, Sarah was like, "Yeah, we kind of like got to get something going. You're in, obviously," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm in." She's like, "Yeah, and Zach will be in too. We call you and Zach Jack." So I was like, "Oh, okay." Like obviously, like they know we're working together. Other than that, though, at that point, I don't think too many people were on to Zach and I at week 3. And in week 4, that was kind of when everybody was like, oh, like open their eyes. They're like, oh, wow. It's like Zach and JP are totally working together. But I don't really think, other than the people that we were working with, I don't think too many people knew. Kevin knew as well. I don't think too many people knew, though, that Zach and I were like this.
Gotcha. Okay. So we've got the next HOH is Bruno. Bruno's ultimate target is going to be Johnny. Kind of tell me a little bit about how you felt with this. I know that Bruno being the Chop Shop, Zach could keep you safe, but also with the Purple Cobras and Chop Shop, both having been formed. Where was Zach at with this, and was your relationship with Zach going to be tested at all with this vote? I know that either Sarah or Johnny would have gone, which would have taken a number out of that regardless. But just kind of tell me the process there of how you felt with Bruno, and then how you felt with the noms, and what you wanted, what your plan was after noms are set and you're safe. What your plan is that this is now week 4. I want to hear what your plan was to move forward in the game.
Yep. So for me at this point, so Bruno wins HOH. I was very scared of Bruno at this point. I don't think a lot of people really were. But Bruno had, again, he was sort of doing what I was doing. He had a lot of really close personal bonds with people.
Sure.
He knew a lot about other people in the house. And people just genuinely liked him because of his story. He's a father. He has 2 kids. One of his sons has this clubfoot issue. He's got a wife, all this stuff. He's playing for them. So he has this,
Did that ever affect you, in all honesty, did that ever affect you? Were you ever
you were going to jump on that.
Were you sympathetic to that ever?
No, I was never sympathetic to that once, but other people in the house were.
Absolutely.
They were like, oh, like Bobby. I mean, the guy, like Bobby was in, Bobby and Bruno have a great relationship, but Bobby, like, loved Bruno so much. Godfrey loved Bruno.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, Brittany loved Bruno. Ashley loved Bruno.
I was going to say, outside the house, the talk online, really at this point, Sarah was, I believe, already kind of the number 1 spot as far as favorite house guest goes in some of the pollings and ranking systems. People really started to like Sarah already. She was kind of always a fan favorite, but people were really getting excited about when Jordan and Bruno are going to go head to head. Y'all were the 2 in the house that people were excited about seeing how things would shake out between you, because you were playing similar games in ways as far as like building bonds. You both were equally positioned somewhat. Bruno wasn't thinking outside the Chop Shop fast enough, as fast as Zach was, as forming side alliances and such. But no, Bruno was going to be a scary competitor in this game, and so you were well aware of it during this week. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew as soon as he
a lot of game talk with him. I know he was in the Chop Shop, so I don't know what information he's going to share with you. But how much game talk did you have with Bruno this week?
Well, I had a little bit of game talk with Bruno, not too much, because I always knew that anything he said to me was BS, because he would always be like, Bud, I got you, man. You're sick, Bud. You're a great kid, Bud. And I would always be like, oh, okay, like, awesome. Sounds good, Bruno. And he'd be like, man, like, I've been wanting to work with you. I want to work with you. And he'd say all this stuff. And I knew, I'm like, Bruno, you're so, like, into the Chop Shop. At this, I mean, again, I think he was maybe starting to have doubts a little bit at this point, but just because I knew about the Chop Shop, how loyal he was to Greg, how loyal he was to Bobby, I knew I knew that Bruno wasn't going to talk any legitimate game with me. It's too bad. I'm sure. I mean, I wish I would have maybe tried, because I'm sure if Bruno and I would have worked together, we would have been pretty lethal in the game. I mean, Bruno's an excellent game player, but no, we didn't really talk too much game. A little bit. He always, Zach. The information Zach gave me was that Bruno wanted to go after Kevin potentially. So and whenever I would talk to Bruno, I'd be like, yeah, let's get rid of Kevin, let's get rid of Kevin. Whereas, and I would go to Kevin and tell him the same thing. I'd be like, look, Kev, just so you know, I'm saying all this stuff to Bruno. Yeah, no, Bruno and I didn't have too many game talks. But I wish that we did, because he was arguably the best player in that house this season. He was excellent. So
he was a great player.
Yeah.
So this week you were safe. Nom's said, that Bruno was gunning after Johnny. He wanted Johnny out bad.
Yeah.
So there was he was almost laser focused this week. I mean, he had all the power with the power veto. So you were safe going in there. Johnny gets evicted day 28. We're going to start moving pretty fast here, just because really the game starts kind of. This is kind of where the wheels fall off. So we got to get into it. But hey, baby, it happens. This is this I would say is the first lug nut off this wheel that's about to get shaky. Cindy comes back in the house day 30. Did Cindy come back after Noms, or was it pre-Noms?
Yeah, so this was after the nominations. So Zach won HOH on day 28. He made his nominations on day 29, and Cindy came back to the house on day 30. Okay.
You over-celebrated. I think they showed that. I'm not sure if that was the only reason that caused you to want to volunteer to go on the block. Were you aware the other house guests were kind of on to y'all's closeness? What was the point of that? You had a whole side that knew that y'all were close because you were in an alliance with them.
Yeah.
What was the give me your mindset there? What was the in your mind? What was the value of trying to remove doubt in people's a thought in people's minds about the closeness of you and Zach? Trying to add a little seed of doubt in there. What was the value in that?
The value in that, I just wanted to make people think that I was open to more than just whatever Zach is going to do. And I figured that if Zach put me up on the block, then maybe people would think, oh, okay, maybe Zach and JP aren't really that close, which obviously that didn't work. And also I thought maybe people would think, oh, like, JP's mad at Zach. He's not going to want to work with Zach, and it could potentially open up some doors with me, with guys like Bruno, with people like Godfrey, people on other sides of the house that I hadn't had a chance to talk too much game with.
Okay.
So for me, that was kind of what I was thinking with that move. Now, obviously, it was an egregious error on my part. No, and also too, Spencer, I think both of you guys, I think that the where my head was at. I just felt so good because every single thing for me in the game had gone my way at that point.
Yes,
and it had. So, and I had such good relationships with people. I had already formed the Diaper Alliance at this point. So really the only people that I figured maybe would vote against me would I guess Bruno, Bobby, and then maybe Godfrey, but Godfrey was sitting on the block with me. Everybody else, I had some sort of working relationship with them at this point, so I thought, okay, I think this is going to be okay. I didn't account for Cindy coming back into the game. I counted the votes. I figured I've got all of the diapers voting with me. And then plus I figured, okay, I'm going to have Sarah and Brittany because I trusted both of them. Obviously, they slit my throat. Just based on the position where I was, I felt like I was okay. The lesson is never feel okay.
That's true. You should, on paper, you should look safe. Like I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, yeah.
You went through a Bobby HOH, a Brittany HOH, and a Bruno HOH, none of which you were aligned with, and not even Kevin at the time. You were aligned with Kevin at the time of his HOH.
Yeah, I was.
But you've only had one HOH in power you're aligned with, and you never were even sweating the other weeks. So you were really in a good position in the house as far as the amount of favor you had and the amount of influence. Okay, a couple questions about your plan. Not trying to poke holes in it, not trying to beat you up over it, just trying to get to the bottom of it. You were wanting to show a separation between you and Zach. However, you did not plan on being on the block post-veto.
Yes.
Zach winning the veto, he would have had to use it on you and replaced you. I think the plan was Bobby or Bruno to try to continue to break up the chop shop. How would that have looked in the house guest's eyes, trying to prove that you weren't close to Zach, having him use the veto on you?
Again, it's a flawed plan. It's a flawed plan.
Sure. Okay.
But for me, again, and also too, part of it was that yes, Zach would use the veto on me, whatever. I think that maybe it still would have maybe created like a hint of doubt. But again, Not really.
Okay.
But a part of it as well too was that I felt like I owed Zach because to me, Zach was my ride or die. I was willing to do anything for Zach in the
Okay.
game, and I was supposed to win HOH that week because it was the before and after competition. I studied every single night before I'd go to bed. The days, what happened, blah blah blah. I knew everything that was going to happen. As soon as that competition came up, Zach and I were talking about winning it that week. I heard his interview. He said just wanted to beat Godfrey. For me, I legitimately wanted to win and just finally get rid of Bruno because I knew that the longer he stayed in the game, the more dangerous he was going to become. So I wanted to win that HOH desperately. And then when I stepped wrong in that competition, and then forcing Zach to have to win, I felt bad because I felt like, you know what, this was mine to win. If next week it's a physical one, I'm not going to be able to pull it out, and we're going to be in danger. So this is bad. I feel awful. So I felt like I owed Zach. I wasn't contributing enough because
Gotcha.
I felt like I owed him something. So because of the relationships we had built in the house, really there was nobody that Zach could put on the block and have them be like, "What? Like, oh my God! Like, why are you putting him on the block? We're working together." Other than Godfrey, Godfrey was the only one.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I said to Zach, I'm like, "Look, like, there's all these people that are going to put up. Every single person is going to be upset in some way, and you're going to hurt." You're going to hurt that relationship you have with them, and thus I'm also going to hurt that relationship that I have with them. I want to make sure that we're good with everybody, and that was the problem. Is we were too widespread. We had we had this web that just was like all over the house, but because it
Some
was
of the
so
holes were
widespread,
too
it just
big.
grew to it just
It
was
was
so
too
weak.
big.
It was
Yes.
too big, and it grew to be too weak, and so it
Sure.
kind of collapsed. So I felt like I was doing Zach a favor. I was like, look, put me on the block. It'll be fine. Use a veto on me. Let's backdoor Bruno. Because that as well, for me, I was willing to do anything to get rid of Bruno. I just wanted him gone.
Okay.
And I figured
Okay.
Zach would be the only one who would take a shot. He didn't want to put him up straight up. So I said, look, do it this way. This will work. I don't see how it's not going to because I figured Godfrey would win it. One of us would win it. And we would sell it to the other side of the house. We would backdoor
The
Kevin.
thing-
And yeah.
The
so.
thing about it, I think, is like I know that you're gonna beat yourself up about this like forever, and you're gonna get questions nonstop about it. Blah, blah, blah. But the thing about it to me is like I have to again give salute, where it's deserved because man, I would not have the balls to do something like that. And like with any other season, like if it was a U.S. season, I think that the twist would have been played out by this point. You would have been in perfect, and it would have been a great move. Sure, it wouldn't have been like this like taking that doubt and like, oh yeah, you and Zach aren't together. But it would have been still a great move because Zach wouldn't have had much blood on his hands. You wouldn't have had much blood on your hands.
Yeah.
Like I think that it was a big move. It was a bold move, and the future belongs to the brave and the bold and shit. Like at least
Absolutely,
make a
absolutely.
fucking
Well,
grab for something like
thank
that.
you.
Well,
And-
you had no idea. You had no idea at that time that Cindy was going to come back, and with the information
Yeah.
she had from Sequester House,
Yeah.
was going to expose everything anyway. So it really didn't matter where Zach and you stood to the house past
Yeah.
that week anyway.
Yeah.
Let's.
Just hold on before you go in, Spencer.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, McCrae, and that is for the kind words. I do appreciate that.
No worries.
And that I think that's kind of the problem with being a super fan of the game is that I was in there and for the first month I didn't really do anything.
Yep.
I mean, I was playing the game. I think I was playing
Absolutely.
a solid game, but I hadn't been making any like crazy splashes or and crazy moves or anything like
Yeah.
that. And I wanted to do something
something
epic
crazy.
and
Yeah.
crazy. I wanted to go out there. I wanted to be remembered as one of the greatest players that ever played this game.
Mhm.
And I figured that if I did something this crazy and this worked,
Yeah.
people would be like, "Oh my god, like this, like what a great
Absolutely.
Zach and JP Newport. This is so awesome.
Absolutely.
Like this is
Yeah,
great."
It would
sure,
have
but-
been fucking huge.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like you said, like, Dr. Will told everybody to vote him out on, like, the third or fourth eviction of BB All-Stars. Had they listened to him and voted him out, people would have said, oh, Dr. Will's one of the dumbest players that's ever played the game before. But they didn't, and it worked, and look where he sits.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's one of those things.
You gotta
you've
try
got
something.
to take some chances to be.
Yeah.
You got to take some chances to be memorable, and you took a big shot. And now that you explain, I understand why feeling like you needed to kind of like carry your own weight as far as the Newport Alliance goes.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit.
Yeah,
And I could feel you there because you've got to push your allies further by any means necessary. And sometimes, and I appreciate. I know in your house guest hangout you shouted me out for volunteering to go on the block. It doesn't always end up poorly. It does work. There's a viable strategy in it when you're working with some small numbers and stuff to make it interesting. But you know what I'm saying? It's just, damn it, JP, it's just one of them things, buddy. Don't get fucked up about it.
Yeah.
Thank you,
But
Spencer.
we will we're not quite there yet. I've got a few more questions that I want to get through this week 5, and then basically we're kind of winding it down. I want to know, how did Cindy's return to the house scare Zach away from planning to backdoor Bobby and Bruno? With the relationship that you had with Cindy, it would seem like her coming in would have been an ally, even though she knew about the chop shop. There still would have been a way to spin that. Why did that? Is that what scared him away? Ultimately, it seems like it may have been, and just give me some greater detail on that thought process there.
Yeah, and you know what, and Spencer, we didn't even know at that point that Cindy knew about the chop shop. We didn't know because she was the only person people she told was the SSB alliance, Sarah and Brittany. They knew she knew about the chop shop during this week, but nobody else knew about it. She did that the following week. She came out with that stuff. So we didn't even know that at this point. So we just assumed, yeah, Cindy's with us. So for me, I never understood why that scared Zach, and that's something you would just have to ask him. I mean, he said because there were too many people still left in the game. He didn't want to have to start sprinting to the finish yet. He didn't want to have to start winning competitions and relying on that sort of stuff. And you know what? Hey, I'm not a big guy. I'm a smaller person. I'm not that threatening. So for me, I don't really understand what it's like to be this big, huge physical threat in the house. And so, you know what? I guess I don't know. I don't think I will ever quite understand it because for me, it just did not make sense. But I mean, he felt like he was good enough with Bobby and Bruno, which he wasn't at that point, to not go ahead and take the shot. And ultimately, it blew up in our faces. So he just, I guess. The extra number, I honestly don't know, and I don't know to this day. That's something you would have to ask him.
Okay, I wish we would have yesterday. I'm not sure if I don't think we did.
I think you did. I think he kind of was just like, yeah, it's too many people. So I mean, that's Zach's answer to it.
Yeah, and in the house, things make sense to you because they make sense to you, not because they make sense. You know,
right? Exactly, like volunteering to go on the block.
Exactly. It's absolutely one of those things. Okay. All right. When Zach wins the veto, does not use it on you. Noms are set. You're on the block. What is your post-veto campaign strategy? I know you felt like you had the number, so you really didn't have to. But kind of walk me through after noms are set and shit. Just take me all the way to the blind side because I know that things transpired really quickly there towards the end, and I want to hear about all that.
Yeah, so for me, I just, again, Spencer, you've been nominated more than anybody in the history of Big Brother, correct me if I'm wrong. You did an interview with Rob Cisternino once.
Victoria,
there's
okay. With asterisks, there's an asterisk there.
Yeah, the Battle of the Block. We'll just...
That's bullshit. It's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, Battle of the Block. It's 4 times. We'll still say it's Spencer. and props to you for getting as far as you did. That's incredible. Thanks. So you actually did an interview once with Rob Cesternino, and you said your exit interview for Big Brother 15, and you gave a guide for being a pawn and staying on the block. And a few of the things you mentioned were just remaining likable, staying calm, and just not talking game too much with people because then that's going to scare too many people. For me, it seemed like it was a done deal. Godfrey was going to go home. He didn't have any solid alliances with anybody in the house yet. He had just called out Zach and said, "I want your blood on these hands, yo."
Which
you do great impressions.
Which ended up being perfect.
It did end up being perfect because it's what I did not know at the time was that people were waiting for a champion to take down Zach in the show match.
That was like the call to arms. That really was.
It totally was. So, but for me, the way I viewed it, because again, Zach and I misread the situation. We were just thought, oh, okay, well, this is Godfrey, just trying to make some good TV, whatever. Mm-hmm. Everybody is still wanting to work with us. This is okay. I don't need to do too much. But then, it's hard being on the block. It's tough. And for me, I had a few opportunities to sell Zach down the river or to sell other people out to potentially get Zach to use the veto on me instead of not using it. And so instead of maybe going after Bobby and Bruno, I could have sold out Sarah or Brittany, and I could have said, look, Zach, these people aren't really with us. Use the veto on me and take them down. Who knows if he would have actually used it. But once I got off, I just felt like people were reassuring me. I went to Kevin. I told him about Newport just because I was upset about the whole situation and how it went down. And I said, look, Kevin, you're my new number one. We're going to work together. But I was still down with the whole Bermuda Triangle.
But what you're trying to say pretty much is that the reason you didn't campaign was because of Spencer. Spencer fucked your game because of the Rob Cesternino podcast. Good job, Spencer.
Yo, and again, McCrae, again, this is the problem when you put super fans on Big Brother is you
Yep.
overthink everything.
Yep.
A normal, rational, regular person
Just like,
being
fuck
on the
it.
block would
Just
be
like,
like,
I gotta
hey,
talk
I got
to
a campaign to
yeah,
save myself. Because I
absolutely.
was like, oh, wait, I watched Spencer, and Spencer would just like sit back and have a good time and just be like, hey, all like whatever.
Yeah.
And like people were like, ah, yeah, it's just Spencer, like whatever. And no one would get rid of you. And so
Yeah.
for me, I just thought, well, people think I'm incredibly weak in these competitions. I've thrown all of them. Hell, I threw the veto that I was just participating in, and I had the second worst time.
You wouldn't have won that. You wouldn't have won that anyway.
Oh,
like
no,
whether you throw
that's
it through
the
it or
thing,
not, you wouldn't have won that anyway.
That's the thing too. I get a lot of crap for throwing that veto. I was no way in hell would I have won that
Some
veto.
comps like you're not going to win them at all.
And
like,
plus,
this is like
you made it a good TV moment. You knew what you were doing. You saw. You knew that this is gonna be fucking some beautiful TV. Like that's another good thing about you, that you knew exactly when your TV moments were, and you made great TV. Like you owned it every time. I thought that was excellent.
Thank you,
That's what makes a great hamster, is someone that's entertaining, knows how to do it. But I want to take a question from a fan here at BB3 _ everything. They say, Jordan, remember that 3 a.m. convo with Sarah by the hot tub? Do you regret not admitting to her that you knew about the chop shop?
Yeah.
I think that's around this time right now, right?
Hey, can I tie that in? Can I tie that in?
Absolutely.
That was my next follow-up question. Okay. Tell me what happens to Jordan's game if you admit that you know about the chop shop to Sarah when she asks, then you turn on Zach, admitting you knew everything about the chop shop and the plan was to dismantle it. You tell that to the people like Bobby and Bruno. They're super loyal. What does that? How does that change your game, or would that have helped? Now,
you know what?
I know it's a lot of speculation, but to follow up on the fan question, I would like to know, because I think that would have been, as tough as that would have been to done in that game, that may have been at that point. And not knowing there's a flip going on, you never in a million years would even fucking tried to have done that. So there's no point in really even speculating, even though I want to hear what you think.
Yeah.
But okay, go ahead and just I'll let you talk.
Okay, so
I'm excited
Yeah.
now.
So to answer BB, I think it was BB Camp 3 _ everything. The question, yes, I do remember that conversation, and if I would have blown up Zach and the diapers and all those guys, that would have probably saved me. That would have changed everything. But like Spencer just said, I felt like I was fine no matter what, so I didn't feel like I needed to do that. I had just told Kevin about Newport. For me, that was huge. Like, that was so huge. Even though Kevin already knew that Zach and I were working together, just for me to tell him, like, look, Zach's been my number one since day one. I've never been doing the fortress in the diary room. Or when I vote, it's only been you. Like, that was huge for me to do. So for me to then sell out Zach again, I just felt like I just couldn't do it. And I think that was probably the why how I was flawed as a game player. And if I was to play again, I think that would completely... I think part of it's because, I'm 21, I'm young, I don't really get a lot. I'm still learning about like social cues and stuff like that, and I probably should have acted at that point. It was an unnecessary lie. Sarah already knew about the chop shop. She had it all laid out. But in my head, I figured, you know what? How is Sarah going to really know about the chop shop? There's no way she can figure it out. I don't need to tell her about this yet. And I knew she was working with Brittany. I knew she was working with other people. And she called me out. She said, Parhar, you didn't want to work with me, blah, 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 all this stuff. I knew that I wasn't Sarah's number one either, though. So I wasn't too... I wasn't like, I was just like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm not, I'm lying to you, but you haven't been telling me everything either. So,
why was it bad to tell her you knew about an alliance that you weren't involved in?
Just because for me, that was something that Zach didn't want that getting it. We wanted to keep that on the down low. Again,
so again, you're protecting Zach's lie, basically.
Yeah, it's just trying to protect Zach, really, and trying to protect my relationship with him, because he found out that I had leaked, because I had already leaked the chop shop to Kevin. If I had leaked it to Sarah, I thought Sarah might go around and tell some other people, because Sarah talked game with a lot of people. It would get out. Yeah. Zach would be like, okay, nobody knows about the chop shop except you, JP. So obviously you went around and told everyone. So I think he wouldn't have automatically not wanted to trust me, and I was scared. I was on the block. I thought maybe Zach could flip the diapers to vote me out, when in reality it was because I thought they were the majority, when in reality it was the other people that were the majority, and I should have worked with them. So to answer your question, Spencer, if I was to sell Zach out, work with Sarah, it was hard for me. I didn't want to do that because I was so tight with Kevin too. And if I sold out Zach, that would mean I had to sell out all the diapers. And there's something, it would mean selling out Kevin. And I loved Kevin so much, and I loved the whole diaper alliance. I loved those guys on a personal level. There's something to be said about having good personal relationships with people and working with them. It's like a dream scenario. You're like, this is awesome. I love all these people. I want to work with them, and I didn't want to sell them out. If I was to sell them out, what I probably would have done was I would have just said, look, Sarah, yeah, like all this stuff is true. I've been lying to you. Let's work together. Me, you, Brittany, Cindy, whatever. Let's make our own alliance, and then we can pull in Bobby and Bruno when need be. So that way we can flip on these other guys, and that would have completely changed the game. Now, do I beat myself up over that sometimes? Yes, but at the same time, with all of the twists this season, with the triple eviction, with Brittany's coup d'etat, you know what? There was no way I was going to win that game no matter what. So I could have tried to zig and to zag and all this other stuff. Okay. In the end, I don't think it would have worked. And again, another thing too, as a super fan, in the back of my mind, you don't know who's popular in that house. I thought Zach was the most popular person in the house. I thought Captain Canada, everybody loved Emmett season 1. I think everyone's going to love Zach season 3. So I want to be aligned with Zach. Part of being in Big Brother Canada, popularity is incredibly important. So I think if I had sold Zach out, everyone would think I was a rat. I sold out like Canada's favorite, all this stuff, and it would have been bad for the game. But in reality, that's probably what I should have done.
So. Well, you know, if you really want to look at reality and saying that's what you should have done, honestly, dude, I disagree. Your game just played out where it did, and I don't mean that in any disrespect, but it just is what happened. Had you tried to flip and work with Sarah, you would have been leaving everybody in the house you just flipped on. People that really trusted you would not have trusted you anymore, being the Diaper Alliance. You'd have gone over maybe with some people that only halfway trusted you, and you only came clean because you were in trouble. And then you would have been the low man over there in that. And let me talk to you just kind of outside of your game breakdown, but just overall Big Brother Canada's talk. Do you think going in, if you are going to recommend it to somebody that's auditioning for season 4 BB Can, go in to play the game to win, or go in to be a zany, memorable character because the twist will stop a good game anyway? What do you do if you had to play it all again? Be zany and memorable, or try to win? What would you try? What would you have done?
Well, I think ideally, people want both. You want to be that zany, memorable person, and you want to win. So it's hard if you can only pick one. If you really look at it, a lot of these twists this season were designed to just destroy the good game players and get rid of them. So, I guess if my advice it just depends. If you want to win, what I would say is try to play a game like Godfrey. Go in as a lone wolf. Don't have people think that you're an idiot. People think you're stupid, when in reality, you're actually, what's going on.
He did have a good mix of both, really. You know, he gave out crazy speeches. He was zany, he was goofy, he was wacky. He seemed dumb, but he was smart. Like, he had a good mix of everything. He did play a good mix. He never really was at the end of, or the bad side of any twist, I guess.
He played a game that kind of wove in between the twists quite well.
I think that a thing too is that I think with that style of gameplay. With what Godfrey did, he could have been out within the first 2 or 3 weeks, based on just because early on in the game, people nominate people that nobody cares about because that's an easy person to go up. Godfrey was his name was always being thrown out there those first few weeks. He never went up.
Dangerous.
But if you manage to survive that first month or so, then yes, it's perfect. You can skate to the end just like Godfrey did. And if you're a big zany personality who's awesome and dynamite in the diary room like Godfrey is, you got the total package. He didn't get the win, but he got 20 G's out of it. So I think Godfrey did an excellent, phenomenal job.
20 G's ain't bad.
No.
Okay.
I've got a question here. This is from Hamster Watch. This is from Dingo.
Dingo, what's up, Dingo?
Yeah, Neon. She asks, in retrospect, do you think that you overplayed too early? But mostly, thank you for owning your mistakes, especially with humor. I wish more did.
Oh,
so
she's
she's
a
lover.
I think that for me, as a super fan, you see many times people make mistakes and they try to defend them and be like, no, like this is what I should have done. I should have volunteered to go on the block, blah blah blah. No, like come on, like you just gotta when you make a mistake, you just gotta own it and have fun with it, and that's what I try to do. Do I think I overplayed? Yeah, I think so. I mean, a little bit. I think that you know what? Yeah, it's hard. I think that
I don't know. I don't know if I would say that you overplayed.
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
think I
you played.
overplayed. I think
I think you played a little bit more than maybe you
You
could have. But I mean, also, I don't. I think you were in your. You were in the zone of like where it was like some that seems reasonable for gameplay wise. Like you're making a bunch of alliances. You had your fucking everything backed up. You know, it was pretty much just time for them where they're like we're pretty much. I don't think their vote to take you out was against you. It was more of a vote against like fucking Zach and like
yeah,
the
it
chop
really was.
shop. You know, it wasn't against you. It was
Yeah,
pretty much just like you were just
and
a means to an end, I guess.
well,
it's about
you were. It's one of those situations where you know, you weren't the head of the snake, but in their eyes, you were at least the throat, and that
yeah,
was a good enough thing to get as far as Zach and chop shop stuff goes.
yeah,
Let's though. Let's move on just a little bit. I've got just a few more questions I want to get to.
for sure.
When what was the main goal of the Diaper Alliance?
Okay, the main goal of the Diaper Line. So for me, and so early, we didn't talk too much about it, but the Bermuda Triangle, that was my number one alliance. Kevin and Zach. I mean, I love Newport and I love the Fortress, but for me, going forward in the game, those two, I wanted to ride with those guys because I knew that later on in the game, when people are going to discover us, people would always go after Kevin and Zach before they would go after me. The
Sure.
Diaper Alliance we had Ashley and Peely by association already. It just fell into place, and I was like, hey, this is perfect. Now, for me, my thinking with the Diaper Alliance was early on in the game, what Zach and I were doing was we were right in the middle, playing both sides. Big targets were going home week after week. We had, Greg leave, we had Cindy leave, we had Johnny leave, we had Neha leave, all these big, huge game players. And eventually we were hoping maybe around like 10 or so, or whenever, that was kind of when we would sort of wake up, start playing. And with the Diaper Alliance, just bang out a bunch of competitions because we
Gotcha.
we had good people for endurance in Ashley Peely. We had good people for physical competitions in Kevin and Zach. And we had good mental players as well in Kevin, myself, really all of us really were good on a mental level. So I figured the five of us would just be a beast of an alliance and we could just roll to the end together. Now, for me, with how I was positioned in this alliance, I was always the one without a showman. So I figured that if need be, if people were going to come after us, they weren't going to go after me. They were going to go
Yeah.
after either Peely and
Well,
Kev or Zach and Kevin or Zach and Ashley, whatever it would end up being. And I would kind of be this middle sort of person that people
okay.
might not associate with the alliance so much.
They
So
they'd be the one they try to separate from the showmances if
yeah,
they were
so
trying to
maybe
pull
people
numbers.
would
as a number.
yeah, it would give
What
me
about
options later on in
Cindy?
the game.
What
Absolutely.
about Cindy as a diaper? Was she ever considered to be brought in as a legitimate number when she returned?
Yeah, well,
Because
for-
it almost seems like not like a no-brainer, but it seems like a very reasonable possibility.
yeah, and we throw Cindy in there, I mean, my goodness, we would have been insane in terms of competition because
Yes,
Cindy was
competition, sure.
a beast mode princess. But for what happened was just it. I gave Cindy some information early on, and I told her, I said, "Hey, look, Cindy." Like the first night she came back, I said, "Look, Cindy, just as a test, I said, there's been a pact for us to all get rid of you. So just so you know, like you're okay. I'm gonna protect you. It's gonna be fine. But just so you know, there has been a pact." And potentially, like, we could work with the couples down the road, blah, blah, blah. But, like, don't tell anyone about this. I just want you to know. The next day, like, everybody came up to me and said, oh, Cindy told me about the pact and you ratted her out,
Gotcha.
blah, blah, blah. So
Gotcha.
I was like, I don't know if I could trust Cindy. And part of it was I think Sarah and Brittany were kind of playing me a little bit because they were working with Cindy. They didn't want me to
Sure.
trust her. So, that just didn't really work out so great. I think in hindsight, what should have I mean, yes, we should have pulled Cindy in and worked with her. But after that, I was a little bit skeptical. I was willing to pull in Cindy the following week and work with her if I would have stayed and make the diapers a full 6. Especially after Peely and Kevin just won those HOHs. Cindy would not have been a
Yes.
target. We
I
would
mean,
not
yeah,
have gone after
dude.
Cindy.
Like, if you'd have stayed your week, Peely and Kevin, if things had gone on the same, Peely and Kev win the next two HOHs. If Cindy 2.0 had stayed Peely's HOH and y'all had gotten rid of Bruno maybe, and then Bobby or maybe even
Yep.
like Britt or Sarah, I
Yeah.
mean, you're going up to where Bobby leaves day 49. That's the day of the triple eviction. You're getting really deep. You're getting really deep had you
Yeah.
stayed. Like, there's some pieces that were getting in there right where they needed to be until damn Cindy came in. I do want to ask you. This is gonna be the last question. We're wrapping it up right here. All right. Let's not go from walking out the door. Let's go now after watching stuff, knowing everything. Who are you most betrayed by, Zach, Sarah, or Cindy?
Ooh. I mean, I felt it's hard. I think
All of them. Just say
I think
all
all.
of them.
You know what?
Fuck
I
them.
think all. McCrae's right. I mean, really, I don't think I can say that any of them really betrayed me more than the other. I mean,
Okay.
I think Zach hurt me the most because I just felt like I would do anything for that
Sure.
guy to save him in
Yeah.
his game. I volunteered. I went up as a pawn for him, but I didn't like that wasn't part of the deal. Obviously, he thought it, but at the end of the day, yes, like he didn't use a veto. I mean, like that sucks, and I wish he would have. And I think if that would have been the smarter move, but he didn't. He didn't think I was going home that week. He thought I was
Yeah.
safe. So I mean, I like it
Sure.
sucks, but like I don't really can't fault him too much for that. Sarah, you know what? I do feel betrayed by her. Absolutely, I felt betrayed by her. Absolutely. I mean, she slit my throat. I wanted to work with Sarah potentially going forward. That's why I didn't sell her out to Zach. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I mean, I wasn't bringing a ton of value to Sarah's game at that point, so I don't blame her. So you know what?
Okay.
I mean, yes, I felt betrayed by her, but she did
So-
what she thought she had to do. And Cindy, Cindy, obviously felt pretty betrayed by Cindy, but at the same time, I voted her out in week 2. So I mean, you know what? Like, she's just returning the favor for me. I mean, obviously,
Gotcha.
I didn't orchestrate her demise in week 2.
Sure.
So, but
Yeah.
you know what? She came back into the game. She wanted to make a big move, and that was the big move she wanted to make. Again, like you said, it was more of a shot, I think, at Zach, not as much at me. I don't think she really
Sure.
wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Just because it was, I want to get screwed, JP. I hate that guy.
Yeah.
No, it was just,
Sure.
You were
I
a
was tied
victim
with Zach. She wanted to
of
do it. But to answer your
circumstance.
question, all 3 of them, I feel probably equally betrayed by.
Okay. All right. Right on, man. Well, hey, that's going to wrap it up. Jordan, we really appreciate you being here and walking through your game with
It's
us.
awesome.
It's been awesome, dude. It was a great season. Your blind side. I've said in the interviews, I was giddy the day it was going to happen, but my heart ached for you as somebody that's played. But at the same time,
Oh,
as
good.
a gamer,
Oh, good.
on this side next year when you're watching stuff, I know we'll be talking or texting and back and forth when some blindside's about to happen, and it'll be a weird feeling for you because you'll hate it, but you'll also be a little excited because that gamer
Yeah.
is still in you. So,
Absolutely. Thank you. Hey,
but-
thank you guys so much for having me on the show. McCrae, Spencer, love both you guys.
No,
and,
thank you, man.
Hey, if you're listening to this, if you guys could please go to www.robhasawebsite.com/BB Second Chances with a Z. And if you could vote for McCrae and Spencer to be
Thank
in our
you.
cast for our hypothetical All-Star season, that would be
Yes.
awesome.
Thank you so much. That's a
You
good
guys are great.
segue.
I love you guys so much. And
No.
you know what? Yeah, Spencer, I would have loved the blind side too if I was at home. 'Cause, who doesn't like a good blind side? So
Man,
Well, please-
it was good. It was good. I do hate that you're in this evening of it, man. You're a gentleman.
Yeah.
You're a wonderful person. It's been awesome.
And
Visiting
please
with you, getting to
invite
know you.
us if you ever want a guest for your show. You know, for
Yes,
Big
that would
West
be great.
17.
I would love
Ask
that,
us
guys.
anytime. You know, we'd love to. We love talking to you. You're great,
Glad to
David.
do it.
You're just
Yeah,
I love talking to you guys too. You guys are
yeah.
awesome.
If you have anything else to plug, do it. I
Okay,
don't know.
yeah, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I am at Jordan Parhar, JordanParhar.
Mhm.
Same thing on Instagram, and that's all I got. So
Excellent.
just follow me on there
All
and see what I'm doing.
Excellent.
Great.
Excellent. Spencer, what do you got to plug?
Follow me at Spencer B. Clausen on Twitter. My Instagram is SpencerBB15 Clausen. I never plug that.
I
but,
know. I never do it
I know.
either.
But anyway, there's that. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up button for this video.
Hit that subscribe, all that good
Share
stuff.
Share it.
Love
let
it.
other people know in the BB community that you watch it, like it, and let them see it. Share it on all your social medias, please. But also subscribe to this channel, and we appreciate that so much. We'll be back later tonight live with
Yeah.
Willow.
30
If
minutes.
you're listening,
Yeah.
30 minutes.
30
yep.
minutes.
If you're watching this,
yep.
if you're listening to this on iTunes, thank you. And if you're watching this later on YouTube, we're not doing it live in 30 minutes. You can click to her video right now if you want to. So-
Yeah. And also, I want to plug. 604. I want to plug
604, baby.
get your feeds through hamsterwatch.com. I also keep on forgetting to say this. Yeah, get your feeds through hamsterwatch.com. You support her, and supporting her is a vote of just like awesome writing in the Big Brother community, a voice of just reasonability, just reasonableness, whatever. Just everyone get your feeds through her. If you're Canadian, she also has a workaround on her website so that you can get live feeds this year. This is huge for Canadians. Go to her site. You'll read all about it. If you have questions, tweet me or her. We'll help you through it. You can follow me at McCrae Olay. Also, Zips Wine, the official drink of On the Block. Drink up, drink one. Zips Wine. Yeah.
Zipswine.com. Use promo code on the block 15. Save 15% on your online purchase.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. Jordan, thanks for being with us. And take us out, McCrae. That's it, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys, and thank you again, Jordan. We really appreciate it. And everyone, just have a great day, and we'll see you back here in a bit for Willow. Reset, grab your drinks, and get ready, guys, because we're doing another. Let's do it. And again, Jordan, salute, man. You fucking killed it this year, man. You're great. You're great to watch, man. All right, take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.